What's up? My name's Paul. Welcome to Screening Party, and this is my Raya and the Last Dragon review. The first thing we have to talk about is the animation. This is from Disney, of course, so the animation is top notch. I really like the style of animation with CG that they've been doing as of lately. This includes like Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Moana, and now Raya and the Last Dragon. I really liked the landscapes that they did with the Southeast Asian influence of like the mountains, the water, obviously the different cultures that we see in there in the different tribes. There's so many different like textures and things going on, so that was really cool. Also with the fighting aspects and fighting elements is something we don't usually see in Disney, so that was really cool to see them animate and the different ways you can get really creative with fight choreography in an animated film. Now with the story, I personally really enjoyed the story. I thought it was actually pretty simple. It was a hero's journey from Raya, trying to find the last dragon and to bring back her people and the world, but like mostly her father. I think there's a lot going forward with Raya. I think that world building is phenomenal, and I think we could definitely return there in a sequel. Disney's kind of weird with their sequels, but they've been doing it. Wreck-It Ralph had a sequel, Frozen had a sequel, I think Zootopia might be getting one too, so I definitely could see a sequel for this film. What I like about what Disney's kind of been doing with their recent animated films is this sense of adventure, this sense of taking us on somewhere. Raya definitely follows that to the T. It's a venture quest kind of thing, maybe like a little Indiana Jones with collecting the items. And I really enjoyed that. Something I'm interested with the story perspective is that there's actually not a true villain. You can kind of see Namaari as like a villain and like our antagonist clearly to Raya, but it's not the way classic Disney used to do. With Disney, we are used to these classic villains such as Jafar, Ursula, Cruella, where there's like these very prominent protagonists that we know are evil. Maybe we don't know exactly why they're evil, that kind of thing. And I think stories have kind of progressed past that, and Disney's kind of been changing, but there's something I noticed. Recently, Disney's kind of been changing their villain formula, and there was this weird thing happening where a lot of their films were doing this like surprise villain. In Wreck-It Ralph, we have King Candy, who was turned out to be Turbo, so that was a surprise villain. In Frozen, we were introduced to Hans as this prince that, eventually turned on Anna. Elsa took over the castle and was our villain for that film. In Zootopia, we were introduced to the assistant to the mayor, Bellwether, who's the sheep, and she was very friendly throughout the course of the film, and then we find out that she was like our twist villain. Then, in even more recent films, Disney did another change as well, and they are kind of changing it to this like no villain, which I realized Pixar was doing as well. So this includes Moana. Really didn't have like a true protagonist. It was more of herself and her journey returning the stone. In the new Ralph, all the things that caused the film to go wrong were kind of influenced and set off by Ralph himself. So in that film, he is his own true villain. Other films like Disney Pixar's Soul and Inside Out, where those characters don't really have to face an adversary, it's more of like overcoming an obstacle, which is, very different from what we used to see from Disney. And now I think Disney is going on its next journey, and it's kind of dealing with like anti-heroes with Namaari in Raya and the Last Dragon. She's not really bad to be bad. She kind of has these like bad influences, such as her mother, and she wants to do the right thing, but there's kind of this gray zone, and I think that's what we'll see going forward. The main message from this film is all about trust and trusting one another to get the job done, to believe in that person, and I really like that idea. I think society is kind of in this weird point, especially with everything that's going on in the world, and that if we don't trust one another, we're just gonna collapse in on ourselves. So I really like that message. One of my favorite things about this film is the action sequences. I think Disney does a really good job of animating these action sequences, kind of on par to what I saw in Spider-Verse from Sony, and I really like that. I think Raya has a really cool and like unique weapon that she uses in her sword that can expand. So I really like those. I think they did a really good job with the action. My favorite action sequence was undoubtedly the ending where Raya is storming the palace towards Namaari. People are running out of the palace. The palace is collapsing on itself, and it's just this very intense moment that you can see that Raya is lost. She's lost within herself. I think that fight really benefited from having her rage, and it was just a darker tone that I don't think Disney has done recently. The next thing I want to talk about is Raya's sacrifice in the film. I think this was a huge character moment and a very pivotal moment in the film, and really drove home the message of putting your faith and trust in others so we can work as a whole and get the job done. You know, it was really hard for Raya as a character because she didn't trust Namari. I mean, the whole reason all the events occurred in the film was because she trusted someone she shouldn't have. So it was a huge character point for Raya, and I think it was something, the ending, I didn't really see coming, and I really enjoyed that. One critique of the film I do have is that it's very female-centric. By all means, that's not a bad thing, but you know, our three main characters being Raya, Namari, and Sishu, our dragon, are all females. Trying to appeal to the masses, to this family brand, kind of hard not to have just at least one male character that a boy or a father who watches the film can kind of relate to. And I think that does hurt the film just a little bit. The next thing I want to talk about is our characters. I really enjoyed all the characters in the film. There were like one or two that just weren't my favorite, but my favorite, hands down, had to be Raya. And then right next to her was Sishu, played by Awkwafina. I think their relationship was really cool, their duo-ness. And it kind of reminded me of Aladdin and the Genie. Sishu and the Genie were both played by famous comedians, Awkwafina and Robin Williams. They are both magical creatures, and of course, they're both blue. So I thought that was a little cool comparison. I also really liked our anti-hero, Namari. As I said, I don't think she's a true villain, even though she did kill Sishu, but it was kind of more along the lines of just like being influenced from a bad perspective, like her mom. She wanted to do the right thing, and at the end of the day, she did do the right thing and helped save the world and bring the community and the dragons back. So I don't consider her a true villain. And the last character I want to talk about is Raya's dad, Benja. He wasn't in the film that long, but I really like the voice actor who plays him. I remember him from Lost, and I thought he did a really good job with what he had. Unfortunately, Disney loves to not have the parents in the picture for the films, and that kind of drives the child or the protagonist forward, which I don't love. But now the last thing I want to talk about is just this mythology and this world building that Raya and the Last Dragon did. I absolutely loved it. I saw a lot of people comparing it to Avatar: The Last Airbender, if you see my Pop Funkos back there, and I'm a huge fan of Avatar, so I liked seeing that comparison a lot. The main comparisons that I just see off the top of my head are obviously the different nations or tribes. We have the 4 in Avatar, and here in Raya we have 5. In Avatar, of course, each nation has their own designated power, which isn't the case in Raya, but still in Raya, each tribe has its very distinct look and feel to it, and terrain, such as like sand or desert, mountains, or water, which is very similar to Avatar, where those worlds also have their very distinct terrains. But one thing I did notice almost immediately in the film is when Tuk Tuk got very large and Raya was riding him, I immediately thought of Appa and Aang. And I really couldn't get that out of my head. And the last little thing that I want to talk about is kind of looking at it and comparing it to How to Train Your Dragon from DreamWorks Animation. DreamWorks can't take the idea of dragons for themselves, but you know, you're definitely going to compare them a little bit when you point the two up against one another. How to Train Your Dragon, the first 2 films, I think are some of the best animated films ever. I think they're really great. With Raya, unfortunately, we really didn't get to see the humans and dragons interacting together, which I think helps separate the two. But if we do have a sequel, I would love to see the humans and the dragons interact more in this world. So that is it for me, guys. Thank you for watching and seeing my review of Raya and the Last Dragon. My name is Paul McGarty. This is my first video on this channel. This is Life is a Screening Party. I also do a podcast with my buddy Ryan that is kind of, this channel is an offshoot from that. So that's called Life's a Party Podcast, where we talk about movies, sports, pop culture, and the world of drinking and just having a good time being yourself. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, as it would really help me and the channel out. Please think about hitting that subscribe button. It's our first video, so I can't wait to see what this channel becomes in the future. We're going to be talking about all things movies here, talking about reviews, trailer reactions, and more. If you want to talk more Raya and the Last Dragon, please put your ideas in the comment section down below. I've been Paul. Thanks for joining. I'll see you later.